Welcome back to the deep dive. We're here to take that stack of sources you've got and, well, make sense of it all. Crystal clear insight.
That's the plan.
And today's mission, it's really about our internal architecture. We're looking at a framework for making decisions, feeling more confident, and maybe, just maybe, cutting down on that future regret.
Exactly. And we're centering this on Robert Glazer's work, specifically his book, The Compass Within. Glazer, entrepreneur, former CEO.
Right.
His core idea is that a lot of the friction, that sort of dissonance we feel, it comes from a disconnect. Our actions aren't lining up with our real values.
Okay.
So he says if we can properly define our personal core values, they stop being these abstract concepts. They become a practical tool, a high-performance structure for making decisions.
I like that. A structure, not just a wishy-washy list.
Yeah.
So the big idea, the goal here, is finding that calm, that fulfillment, by getting things aligned, our partner, our work, our day-to-day.
Aligning it all with a value system we've actually defined.
Okay, so let's start where things often go wrong. Because people try this value stuff, right? But there's a common first mistake that just seems to derail the whole thing.
Oh, absolutely. It's what Glazer calls the one-word trap. And yeah, it's super common.
The one-word trap, explain that.
Well, you ask someone their values, and they immediately jump to single words. Family, integrity, respect, stuff like that.
Sounds reasonable on the surface.
It does, but Glazer's point is they're just ineffective. They're too vague, open to interpretation. And crucially, they don't actually dictate your behavior when things get tough.
Okay, give me an example. Let's say I write down family.
Yeah.
How does that fail me when I'm, I don't know, dealing with a difficult client at work?
Right. So family, almost everyone values family, so it's not unique to you. But also, it's not universal in its application.
No.
Thinking I value family gives you zero practical guidance on how to handle that toxic client, or maybe a conflict with a colleague. It just doesn't connect.
It feels like it applies to only one box in your life.
Exactly. It's a category, like you said, not a command, not a principle. The real core value has to be the underlying principle that guides how you show up everywhere.
So what would that look like instead?
Well, for someone who deeply prioritizes family, the actual value might be something like always show up.
Ah.
That commitment to showing up consistently, that works for their spouse, for being present in a meeting, for being reliable for a client. Or maybe it's build trusting relationships.
Right.
That applies at home, in negotiations, in teamwork. The vague word family is kind of useless day to day, but the specific principle, that's gold.
Yeah, I guess the same goes for words like integrity. Ask 5 people, get 5 definitions.
Precisely. That's the fuzziness problem. For one person, integrity means total, blunt honesty, even if it stings.
Right.
For someone else, it's do the right thing, which might mean, protecting someone temporarily.
Or just being consistent.
Yeah, or just consistency between words and actions. So if you hit an ethical gray area and all you have is integrity, you have to stop, figure out what you mean by it right now, and then decide. That's where the friction comes in, that hesitation.
So the big takeaway here is we need specificity. We need to turn these nice-sounding nouns into, actionable phrases.
Yeah.
Verbs.
Exactly. Instead of its integrity, it needs to be a clear instruction like, keep your word.
Or do the right thing, always.
Right. Something universal, clear, driven by behavior. That becomes your non-negotiable standard.
Okay, that clarity helps. So how does Glazer formally define a core value then?
He calls it a short statement expressing a non-negotiable principle that instantly guides behavior and decisions.
Instantly. Okay.
And for it to really work, it needs to meet 3 key requirements.
All right, let's break those down. What's number 1?
First, they have to be intrinsic. This is really important.
Intrinsic meaning.
Meaning they reflect who you actually are right now, not who you wish you were or plan to be in 5 years. It's not aspirational, it's reality.
But hang on, isn't a lot of self-improvement about aspiration?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I want to be more patient, why can't patience be a core value for me?
That's a great question. Because if you're naturally impatient and you list patience, you're setting yourself up to constantly feel like you're failing.
Right. Back to that dissonance.
Exactly. Glazer says you have to start with your actual operating system, your default settings. Maybe for that impatient person, the real core value is something like move fast and break things.
Yeah, okay.
If they own that, they can build around it, maybe hire patient people, instead of constantly fighting their own nature.
Wow. Okay, that really reframes it. Start with reality.
Got it.
What's the second requirement?
Second, they need to be consistent. They have to show up across different parts of your life, work, relationships, personal stuff.
So it can't just be a work value.
Nope. If you value, say, build trusting relationships at the office, but you're secretive and evasive at home, then it's not a core value. It's just a professional tactic.
Makes sense. And the third one,
Third, they must be clarifying. This is really the payoff.
clarifying how.
They have to actually help you make better, faster choices. People, about jobs, even about where you live, they act as a filter.
So they simplify things.
They do. Glazer has this great analogy. He says they're like the instruction manual you weren't given at birth.
I love that. Explains why some situations feel right and others just drain you.
Exactly.
So connecting this back to the structure, we need these short phrases, 2 to 5 words maybe, worded like commands.
Yep. And they should be pretty unique to you. It should be rare to find someone with the exact same list.
Okay, so let's say I've brainstormed some phrases. How do I know if they're actually core values and not just, nice ideas?
Right, you need to test them. Glazer offers a tool for this, a core validator, to set of 4 questions.
A filter. Okay, walk us through it. Question 1.
Question 1. Could you actually use this phrase to make a decision? Like one you faced last week or one you're facing right now. If it doesn't give you clear direction, it's probably not strong enough.
Makes sense. If it's too abstract, it's out. What's question 2?
Question 2 is about the opposite. Imagine the opposite of your potential value in action. Does that opposite strike a deep, visceral nerve?
Okay.
Like if your phrase is keep your word, the opposite is maybe be dishonest or break promises. If thinking about that makes you feel genuinely uncomfortable, almost physically repulsed.
Then it's likely core.
Exactly. If the opposite just makes you shrug, it's probably more of a preference than a core value. It's a good gut check against values you think you should have.
That's a powerful test. Okay, question 3.
3 is simple, structural. Is it actually a phrase, not just one word? We covered why that matters.
Right.
And the final question, number 4, makes it really practical. Could you objectively rate yourself on how well you lived up to this value?
Rate myself. How?
Well, if your phrase is be present, you could look back at your last meeting or conversation and score yourself maybe 1 to 10 on how present you truly were.
I see.
If you can't rate it, it's probably still too vague. But if you can pass all 4 questions, then you've likely landed on a genuine working core value.
That measurability piece is key, isn't it? Okay, so now we have a way to define and validate these values. Let's talk about where they make the biggest difference. You mentioned the big 3 decisions.
Right. These are the areas where alignment or misalignment with your values has the most profound impact on your life. Huge leverage points.
And those 3 are?
Your life partner, your career path, and your community or where you choose to live.
Okay.
Glazer argues pretty strongly that if these pillars aren't aligned with your values, you're going to feel constant tension, that friction we talked about. But when they are aligned, that's where you find that deep calm and fulfillment.
Let's unpack that, starting with the life partner. We often think compatibility is about shared hobbies or tastes.
Yeah, and Glazer says that's really secondary. Important, maybe, but not foundational. The real deal breakers, the source of deep friction, come from misalignment on core life stuff.
Like
fundamental approaches to finances, raising a family, lifestyle design. Think about it. If one person's core value is basically financial security first, super saver, avoids risk,
Okay.
and the other's is embrace opportunity, willing to bet big on a new idea.
Oh boy, yeah.
They're going to clash constantly about money every month, probably. It doesn't matter how much they enjoy the same movies if their core values are pulling them in opposite directions on fundamental life decisions.
Yeah, that sounds exhausting, like a constant low-level conflict.
Oh.
Okay, moving to the second one, career. Glazer has an interesting take here. It's not just follow your passion.
No, he pushes back on that a bit. He argues that fulfillment isn't necessarily about finding that one perfect passion job. What's more crucial is working in an organization where the mission and the way they operate resonates with your values.
So it's less about the specific job title, more about the culture, the environment.
Absolutely. It's the operational match. Imagine someone whose core value is challenge assumptions. They're wired to innovate, to question the status quo. Now put them in a very traditional company where the unspoken rule is respect tradition above all else.
Yeah, that's going to be painful.
Miserable, they'll feel stifled, maybe even punished for being who they are. The work environment basically forces them to suppress their core value for 8 hours a day. That kind of constant violation, it bleeds into everything else.
Okay, that makes total sense. And the third piece of the big 3 is community. How does where we live tie into our values?
Well, Our environment shapes us more than we often realize. If your core values point towards needing quiet, deep connection, maybe reflections say your phrase is nurture deep roots,
Uh-huh.
but you choose to live in a super fast-paced, hyper-competitive city that runs on hustle and nightlife, you're creating constant internal friction for yourself.
You're fighting your surroundings all the time.
Exactly. The idea is to find a community where the environment makes it easier to live your values, not harder. Does it have the parks, the libraries, the community centers, whatever infrastructure supports what's core to you? If your environment constantly forces you to compromise your values, something needs to give.
So these values aren't just for navigating personal life, they're critical for leadership too.
Oh, absolutely. Glazer points out that leaders always operate from their values, whether they realize it or not. The danger comes when those values are unconscious.
How does that play out? What's an example of unconscious values causing problems?
Okay, imagine a leader whose dominant but unconscious value is something like always demonstrate readiness. They haven't spelled it out, but they instinctively judge people on whether they seem ready or on the ball.
Right.
So a really good employee happens to be 5 minutes late for one meeting, or maybe they miss replying to an email quickly because they were traveling.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly, this leader, without even knowing why, mentally puts that employee in a kind of penalty box. They seem less reliable, less ready.
And the employee has no clue what they did wrong.
Exactly. They broke an unwritten, invisible rule. They can't fix it because the expectation, always demonstrate readiness, was never articulated. It just creates this awful environment of confusion, maybe even paranoia.
Whereas the solution is just saying it out loud.
Yeah,
Transparency.
pretty much. If that same leader just said, look, one of my core operating principles is demonstrate readiness and reliability. Here's what that looks like in practice. Here's how you build that trust with me. And here's how it can be lost.
Then everyone knows the rules of the game.
Right. Accountability becomes clear, direct, and much healthier.
Glazer actually shares a personal example, doesn't he? About his own value causing friction.
He does. He realized his dominant value is find a better way and share it, which, sounds great.
Yeah.
But it meant he inherently clashed with team members who were resistant to change, who just wanted to do things the old way, even if it was inefficient. Once he made that value explicit, part of the company culture, he could address it directly, even in hiring. It helps attract the right people and filter out those who wouldn't thrive.
So the value acts as a filter. That's interesting. Okay, this all sounds incredibly useful, but maybe a bit daunting. How does someone actually start this process? Is it a massive undertaking?
Actually, no. Glazer argues you can get the foundational clarity, the first draft of your values, in about an hour.
An hour? Seriously?
Seriously, that's the actionable step for listeners right now.
Okay, lay it out. What do we do in that hour?
Block off the time. Maybe you only need 30 minutes, but book an hour. For the first 20-30 minutes, just reflect and jot down answers to 4 key questions. No judgment, just brainstorming.
Okay, question 1.
First, what kinds of work environments or projects really energize you? Think about times you felt genuinely alive or in the zone at work. What was happening?
Got it. Second.
Second, when are you happiest and most fulfilled in your personal life? What are those peak moments like? What's going on?
Okay, personal and professional peaks. What about the next 2?
The next 2 help you see yourself from the outside a bit. Third, what qualities do people consistently seek you out for? Do they come to you for advice, for organization, for a creative solution, for a tough conversation? What's your go-to reputation?
Okay. And the last one.
Fourth is the mirror image. What qualities or behaviors in other people consistently frustrate you or rub you the wrong way? What really gets under your skin?
That's a good one. Okay, so I have these notes: energizing moments, frustrating moments, what people rely on me for. How do I turn that raw material into those specific value phrases?
You look for the patterns, the recurring themes, the underlying principles, what verbs keep showing up.
Yeah.
Maybe you see lots of notes about improving things, efficiency, making things better. Glazer saw that in his notes: improvement, challenging norms, teaching. He distilled that down to find a better way and share it. If your notes are full of themes about reliability, structure, people depending on you, maybe your phrase becomes consistency over comfort or keep your word. You're looking for that core principle and then crystallizing it into that short, actionable phrase.
That's the crucial step, getting the wording right. So it's not just a concept, but a real compass.
Exactly. That specific phrasing is the difference maker.
Okay, so wrapping this up, what we've really explored today is this shift from vague, one-word ideas about values to defining these specific, actionable phrases.
Right. These phrases become your internal compass.
And that compass helps guide those big, high-stakes decisions in real time. It gives you confidence now and, ideally, leads to fewer regrets later.
It's really about building that alignment, moving out of that state of friction and dissonance, and towards a greater sense of calm and personal fulfillment. It's the engine for that.
So here's something to really chew on, based on everything we've discussed. If you take a moment right now, maybe even use that 1-hour exercise later today, and define your core values, then look at your current situation, your job, where you live, maybe even a key relationship. Ask yourself, is this environment actively making it harder for me to live according to these values? Or is it making it easier?
That's a tough question.
It is. Use Glazer's core validator on your main environment. If it consistently forces you to violate what's core to you, if it fails that validation, what's the smallest non-negotiable change you could make, starting today, to bring things just a little bit more into alignment? What's your next move?